Hello everybody and welcome back to the Euro Titans Championship Round 5 held here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, named after the brothers Ricardo and Pedro Rodriguez, the home country's racing heroes here in Mexico, and qualifying a couple of minutes in already and is well underway, currently riding on board then here with the McLaren of SLR Sam. Looks to be the first man out onto the circuit and just about to start his first flying run. But welcome back. I will say first and foremost apologies for last week. It was brought to my attention today that my audio was not heard throughout the entire session, so I feel like an idiot. It's a real big mistake on my behalf, so yeah, do want to get that out first and foremost, and we'll say apologies for that. But I've checked it before we've gotten officially started here this evening, so we should be all well and good in terms of listening to me, should you enjoy that. If you don't, that's absolutely fine as well, but if you're tuning in, chances are I can't be that bad. So, but yeah, nonetheless, apologies for last week, and we're back again this week, and what a doozy we have for you this evening as well. The Mexican Grand Prix Round 5, one of my favourite circuits on the calendar, and it has been very good for me in the past, but we'll see who it is going to be, suiting tonight, who's going to be on pole first of all, and then we'll see what the shootout in the race will be like. It'll be 36 laps around the 4.3 kilometre or 2.6 mile circuit, 17 corners, 10 to the right, 7 to the left, and 3 DRS zones, as we've got a little bit of a car park in the stadium section there. The Haas and the McLaren's teammate getting well and truly out of the way so that Sam here can finish his first flying run, and the time to beat out the gate, well, I would say it would be the time to beat. It looks as though he invalidated it on the way round, but it was a 1:15.9, I believe, as I saw it in the top right-hand corner there. Never mind, Charles Sutton will set the first official time then, and he's immediately beaten by Gergo for the Aston Martin team. A 1:15.6. Joris then sets the third official lap time of 16.9. About a good second off the pace there is Joris for the Alfa Romeo team, as I try to familiarise myself once again with the different teams taking part here in the ETE. I'll double check, let me just hop on into the lineup for tonight so I can get the team names up. Helps me out immensely, and it means you get a better experience for it as well. So currently then, Alien Motorsports driver Gergo taking the provisional pole, but he's already been beaten out by FRC, we'll call him Trady. Never mind, his teammates beating him. The two Red Bulls then take provisional 1 and 2 for the time being, but plenty of cars still out on track. Here comes BRT Crowding, about to finish his first flying run. Where does that put him? It's a 1:15.8. If it stood, that would have put him P6, but however, he's clearly invalidated somewhere around the track, as did his teammate Finn Bob, a 15.4 for his first flying run. So getting some good banking laps here at the present moment, and we'll see who is next across the line. It looks to be the two Ferraris, one on a lap, one is currently not. Wozniak, first time out for the Ferrari driver of ABS. That's very wide, entering his way into the... I've forgotten the word. I do apologise. Oh dear. What is the word? The stadium section. I'll get there eventually. Oh Jesus. But yeah, he's invalidated, and rightly so, comes into the pits this time by. We'll then jump on board then with Sornick for the AlphaTauri team, Total Impact Racing. What's he got in his locker for his first flying run around the final corner then up to the line? It doesn't look bad. What's it going to be though? It's a 1:16.5. I say it doesn't look bad. It is good enough for 10th place at the present moment, but crucially he is not last on the grid, so that's good for him. But Sornick, I'm sure he's got plenty more up his sleeve when he comes around again to set his next flying run. These are the banking laps, you would argue, for the time being. So we'll be yet to seeing the final sort of pace of everybody when they're really pushing it. All cylinders are firing, guns are blazing, and giving it the absolute utmost of everything that they have. Just riding on board here then with ABS Racing Team's driver in the Ferrari, ABS Giovanni. making that nice and easy for me to remember. Here he comes then through the S's to see what he can do on his first flying run. Lovely section of flurrying corners there is the S's, and then you do exit onto it into this stadium section, which is he's gone wide as well there. Never mind, I think that's going to invalidate his lap, unfortunately this time. Just overcooked it on the way in then. Is he going to finish it up, or is he going to maybe he's going to finish it up? So what would the time have been? 16.3, and actually it hasn't invalidated, so that's good enough for P9 then for the moment for the ABS driver. So 16.3 then for Giovanni, as we then begin to wind up for the second flurry of laps then to come, as we then settle into qualifying. 8 minutes gone, or 7 minutes gone, just over 10 minutes to go, about 10 and a half to go, so we're yet to see everyone's final flying run. A couple of cars then now out onto the circuit for their second outlap. Their second flying runs all about to get heated up and started though. I'll tell you what though, we'll ride on board with newcomer Liam Hardman here for the AlphaTauri. Total Impact Racing, he's on his first flying run. What's he got up his sleeve? Let's hope it's something good that he can use. Through the S's then down towards the very short DRS zone there, in towards the stadium section. Keeps it nicely on the road, that's good, so it definitely shouldn't be invalidated unless we've already missed him invalidating the lap. But tricky set of corners that is in the stadium section, but what a section it is, in through the giant grandstand of where it is built. But he did invalidate it earlier on. It would have been a 16.6, which is good enough for 12th as it stands at the moment, but invalidated nonetheless. So he's still yet to set a lap time. What was that? Was that one of the Ferraris making a bit of a mistake? Did I see there? Oh, I do apologise. I'm going to flick it. I'm going to pick someone. Here we go. We'll go with Gergo. He's actually on a lap, setting a lap time through the S's then. We'll ride on board with him in the latter part of this lap, which we seem to be catching everybody on at the moment. Little short DRS straight. Take as much entry curb as you dare and hope the car doesn't bottom out too much, as it can send you flying off the track. Daring nearly into the wall, but then through the final corner, as I say, is a very tricky section, that stadium, and then maximum exit. Never mind, he's peeling off into the pits, so he's said he's had enough of that lap, he's given up on it, and he's going to reset and go once again. Well then, we'll ride on board then. Charles Sutton for NLR. Wasn't a great race out last time for the NLR team. They really needed to pick up as many points as they can, as BRT do seem to be running away with it at this present moment. And I can bring up with you the results in just a short moment's time to see the sort of gaps of what we are looking at. However, NLR really need to prove themselves tonight if they want to stand a chance of getting another one up on the BR team, which is the Haas team. So Charles Sutton then, what's he going to do, finishing off this lap into the final stadium section once again, rounding the penultimate and through to the final corner then. What's it going to be as he runs up to the line? It doesn't look too bad. It's going to be a 1:15.7, just a little under a 10th improvement. Pips his teammate of Jay Kennedy, but that still is only 7th place for the time being. And when you've got Finn Bob on provisional pole for BRT, that's not what NLR want to see. I don't intentionally want to make it rhyme, but there we go, it somewhat did. Whoa, there's a little bit of drafting there from FRC team, the Red Bull outfit, using their teammate very strategically to gain every valuable 10th down the long start-finish straight. 1.2 kilometres it is, so every 10th that you can gain down that is very valuable, as it does make up quite a large portion of this circuit. Here we go then. Able to watch someone fire it through the first sector up towards the beginning of the second, and then the S's begin, the lovely flowing section of track. You flick it left, you flick it right, left again, right again, and then left before you get onto the short DRS straight. But it is very easy to overcook it, or, well, drive off the circuit over the white line. Easy to dip a tyre off of it, and before you know it, the lap's gone. You're going to have to go around once again. But into the stadium section now comes FRC Trade. And what can he do in through the final corner? What's this lap time going to be this time by? Looking pretty quick. It is quick. It's good enough for provisional pole. There we go. FRC Trade then takes provisional pole away from BRT Finbob. And he'll be very happy with that lap indeed. Is he going to give the same courtesy to his teammate later on? That'll be interesting to see. Dan Jones then. He pips it up into P2. He also then outdoes Finbob. And he takes second place on the road at the moment. And there's Wozniak for the Ferrari, the ABS team. He then takes 4th position. I think that was already there beforehand, but he's come up sort of out of nowhere on my radar, definitely. But that's good for him so far and for the ABS team. And I'll tell you what, then we'll try and find some of the standings and see where everyone is from last time out. I don't believe it's been updated yet, so actually I can't give you that information. Nope, we're still only on round 3 on the standings page of the Discord, so never mind, I can't give you the information. I do know, however, that BRT had a pretty good result of it and would have extended their lead over NLR, as it wasn't the best day for them. So unfortunately they will need to try and beat BRT this time out. But at the moment, it looks pretty 50-50, considering the two teams are sort of, well, sandwiching each other, but Finbob up there currently holding P3, yet to do his final run, I believe. So you would argue they potentially have the upper hand in all of this. Right, Sonic then, back on board with him. I think he was a couple of seconds down through that first sector, so this may not be a flying run from Sonic. But we'll see what it is as he crosses over to start the final sector. No, he's four seconds down. I believe he's then making his way to the pits, in which case then we'll watch his teammate. Just made his way through the first sector, starting the second. And what's he then going to be able to pull out? He needs to set a lap this time by in order to get a banker before he goes on to his final run. So let's hope he doesn't invalidate it this time. I'm sure he'll do absolutely fine. But here we go. Through the S's then, onto this little DRS straight. And just making his way now towards the stadium section. Tricky little left-hander the left there that he's just gone through. Easy to lock a brake, run wide, and then you've completely ruined the next part of that section of corners. So the 2 and 3 after it, but that's a 1:16.3. It's valid this time as well. Pips his teammate, so that is good news for him, as that gives you a very good idea of your pace as well. Albeit the cars are on equal difficulty, but still, it's nice to know you can beat your teammate, even if the cars are all the same. Either way though, he's set a valid lap, he's set a banker, now he can really push it for the final one. We'll ride then on board with Thomas for CPI, haven't mentioned them this evening so far. Had a brilliant result last time around. Let's see if they can replicate that once again today. His teammate Zach, for the moment, currently hasn't set a lap time, and I believe Thomas hasn't quite got the pace on this lap. We'll then just follow him through the S's, see what he's got at the moment. His teammate then actually has popped into the pits, so Zach still yet to set a time, and yeah, he's 4 tenths down this time by through after the second sector, so still time to be made up then, I'm sure, for the CPI driver. But for the moment, I think this may just be heading into the pits and setting up for the final run. Yeah, absolutely sensible decision then from Thomas. Right, who's the first man out on the circuit then? Final runs coming up. Less than 3 minutes to go here in qualifying. Who's going to be on pole position? Will it be FRC Trade? Can he hold on to that provisional pole? Or will it be Dan James in the Mercedes? Or will Finbob take it back once again for BRT and the Haas outfit? Or will it be someone else? As Liam Hardman then has decided to retire. And that is, yeah, that's going to be his qualifying session done and dusted then. So for the moment then. Right then. Here we go. We're about to start. The final lap is AMS Gergo over the starting line. What's he going to do for this final run? They're going to be pushing it like hell now as they make their way down the start-finish straight. As I say, very long indeed. Brilliant overtaking opportunity for the race when we get going under green conditions into this turn 1. And even through the first complex of corners here and up towards turn 4 is another brilliant opportunity. DRS in activation once again, so if you're within that second of the car in front, you will get the benefit of the DRS. But first sector done then for AMS Gergo. Purple sector 1 as well, so that's looking promising. Now, is he going to have to contend with traffic on his way through sector 2 and the S's? My prediction is yes, but how much will he be held up, or will he be held up at all, is the ultimate question. We'll ride on board with him, see what sort of actual eye view he has got, and everyone's comfortably and nicely moved out the way for him, so he's going to have no problems then. Into the stadium section, this is where it can get a bit trickier. I think everyone's just about managed it nicely there. Yeah, he's not been held up in the slightest. Good on everybody, well done. And that means Gergo can finish his lap in peace and without any problems indeed. So what is the time going to be? It's a 1:15.4. It's good enough currently for 4th place. I think that is going to be his final flying run as well. So now we're going to be waiting for the next few guys to come on through. I say it's going to be their final flying run. There's going to be a couple about to start it. I think Stanners is going to be one of them, because that lap he was just on definitely wasn't good enough for anything. Or actually, he's going to give a tow to his teammate. He's going to be absolutely ecstatic about that. FRC then working well together, making sure Trade has a brilliant tow down the start-finish straight, pulls out at the very last second. And I'll tell you what then, we'll ride on board then with your provisional pole man. Has he got anything left to give around the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez? I am going to get it. I fucking nailed it, didn't I? Apologies for the language. Oh dear. No, he's backed out of it, never mind. No, but he's still got provisional pole for the moment. So, anybody left? Can they take the top spot away? Yes, they can. Wozniak takes pole now for the time being. Dan Jones is about to come and cross the line. What's he got left? It looks like he was a tenth or so up on his previous time. It's a 1:15.3 as well. Only a few hundredths of a second between him and Wozniak. P2 though for down at the moment. Will he get dropped further down, or will he be able to hold out on that? Let's see and find out. Who's going to be next across the line? Finn Bob's still on his lap. Is he up on his lap time? We're about to wait and see. He's about to finish the second sector here. Is he up or is he down? He's currently down. 1 sector to go. Has he got anything left to give? Can he improve? Can he take that provisional pole that he held earlier on in this session? A few more drivers now crossing the line. Giovanni 6th. FRT Jacob, he's P8 as Tomas takes P6 away from Giovanni then. As Finn Bob crosses the line, what's he got? It's not an improvement. He stays 4th. And I think that does just about wrap things up. Charles Sutton, he's in the pits. He's retired. I think that is everybody done and dusted. The McLaren there of Al Pacino. He's going slowly as well. So I think that's your qualifying done then. Well done, Wozniak. ABS Racing, the Ferrari, bring it home then. Not on home soil, of course, but in Mexico nonetheless. And ABS will be very... Oh dear, apologies. The batteries in my controller decided to fail and give out on me. But just as I was about to say, we've got the top 6 teams, or the top 6 positions in qualifying here are all held by a different team. That's a brilliant qualifying session in my books then, if you look at it in that sort of aspect. The top 6 positions are all held by a different team. That is absolutely brilliant to see, and that should make for a very exciting race. But look at that. I think Ferrari and ABS, 1st and 7th, I think that's looking very good for them for the race to come in a few short moments' time. But well done to Wozniak. Takes pole position, and I believe that's his first time out as well. So well done to him. Dan Jones 2nd for the Mercedes outfit. I believe it is FRT, if my memory is up to snuff. But FRC Tradie takes 3rd. Finn Bob 4th. AMS Gergo 5th. Tomas 6th. Giovanni 7th. Stanners 8th. Jacob 9th, Sutton 10, Crowding 11th, Kennedy 12th, not a good day for the NLR boys, SLR Sam 13th, Zach 14th, and I'm sorry I didn't get to see all of them. But you did see the results there yourself. I do like to try and call them out if I can, but there we are. Right, then let's see if I can get an idea of how long it is until we are readying up for the race. Looking a little bit overcast there, though. Will we see a potential chance of rain, I wonder? We'll have to wait and see. Unfortunately, I don't get the sort of weather forecast for the race itself. So we will have to wait and see if anything does happen during the race. But I think Mexico City here then, the Grand Prix here at least, I believe it is a one-stop strategy for most, if not all. And it does. I have got the stat here. It says you lose around about 22 seconds in the pit lane itself. So pit stop time loss, 22 seconds. But in terms of sort of probability of safety car, based obviously upon real world statistics, 20% likelihood of an actual safety car or a virtual safety car, the probability we got down as 80%. So could see something here this evening. And it is esport racing, it's not the real world, so lives are not on the line, which is nice to know. So it does mean people may send a move that maybe the real life counterpart would think twice before doing. So it does mean the chances probably are slightly higher than they are in the real world as well. But crucially for the start here then, and it is the crucial part for a lot of these drivers, particularly the man on pole, it'll be giving a dose of slipstream to everybody behind him, as this is one of the longest start-finish straights, and particularly one of the longest runs down to turn 1 into the braking zone, 830 metres down towards turn 1 braking point from pole position. And like I say, everybody behind him will be getting a nice dose of slipstream on this first lap. So really and truthfully, I think actually you're in a better position if you're starting either second or third. And maybe you can get the run on the guy ahead. But we'll see what happens. Nice little fact here then for you. We'll give you one of those before we get going under green conditions. At 240 metres above sea level, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez is by far the highest track on the current F1 calendar, as the next highest is host to the Sao Paulo Grand Prix in Brazil, and that's only at 765 metres. So big difference then between the two of those, but if it was real world, it would mean a lot of less air up here. But either way, here we are, the lights are on, there's all 5. And they're green, they're gone, they're away. Who gets a good start then as we make our way down towards turn 1? Can't see just as of yet. The Ferrari then of Wozniak looks as though he's got a pretty good getaway for the time being. I'm going to turn all of these things off just for the moment so I can get it where I want it. But it looks as though he does hold on to position 1. No, he doesn't. Not quite. Dan Jones sweeping round the outside. He'll have the inside for the second part of that corner then. And he takes the lead then into turn 1, 2 and 3 as they now fire their way down towards turn 4. Finn Bob in hot pursuit for BRT on the ABS driver and the Mercedes then of Dan. But what a start then from Dan Jones in that Mercedes. Swoops it round the outside of the ABS driver in that Ferrari and takes P1 away from him. Finn Bob will happily, I think, sit in third for the time being. FRC Trade, he made a pretty good start there then. Holds on to 4th. I believe that is 1 up from his starting point as well. I tell you what then, we're settling things down just a little bit. Why don't we see who is the big winner and loser for the time being? Actually, Trader's lost a position, apologies. He's down 1, but I think 4th is A-OK as well for the time being nonetheless. Charles Sutton then, he's just made 3 positions up. Oh, they're 3 wide into the stadium. That's a cut there from one guy. Oh, the Alpine having a little bit of a wiggle on. Almost put it into the wall. Did very well to hold on to that. That looked to be Tomas for CPI. Did incredibly well then to hold on to it. He's lost out a load of positions and he's just in front of his teammate, but I think he's just happy he kept it out of the wall. He's still fighting for positions then in this Grand Prix and he's still got the entire length of it to go. Round the outside, is that Kennedy on SLR Sam? Yes it is, he'll have the inside line then for the next part, and it's all happening there into the first set of corners. They're side by side. Who's going to be the big winner in all of this? Jacob currently leading the pack from Stanners over the 2 NLR Williams drivers. Going to sweep it round the outside. Stanners having a look up the inside, but he'll have the outside line there. And one of the Williams then has made it all go wrong. Now going probably nearly 4 wide then. There's contact all over the place. Once again, Joris making a little bit of contact there with the Williams. Luckily, everybody's still facing in the right direction. And for the time being, we still don't have anyone out of this Grand Prix. So that is good news in my book. But jostling for positions all the way up and down the field as we do try and wait for things to settle in a little bit. But there's still a battle going on for the lead. There is a train of about 6 cars then up here in the fight for the lead, as they make their way around to start lap 3. DRS will now be in activation for these guys, so if they are within a second of their competitor in front, they will be able to open that rear flap in the back of the car, giving them an extra boost of speed as they make their way down the straights of the circuit. Finbob then under threat from FRC Trade into turn 1, still not completed the move. He hasn't completed the move at all. He's managed to defend it, but he's still under threat for the time being. But I think that is going to settle it there and then, as the next part, Sector 2, is very much single file. I'm not saying it's impossible to get a move done, but you're going to hold yourself up and slow yourself down compared to the guys around you if you do try and pull a move on somebody further up. But the battle for the lead still hot and going on. 3 attempts separate Dan Jones and Wozniak then for the time being, as Finbob has dropped off just a little bit. Still crucially though within that DRS window, and that is what he'll be looking to hang on to as we go deeper and deeper into this Grand Prix. As well as that, he does get the boost of the DRS. It also means he can save his ERS battery a lot more than the guy out front of the train. So be careful and watch Dan Jones to see how much of that battery life he is using, as it may come to hurt him later on in this Grand Prix. But for now, he still holds on to P1. But could we see a move here then for the lead? Wozniak pulls out of the slipstream, DRS in activation. He's going to have the move done before they even get to the braking zone. Simple as you like, and he takes the lead from Dan once again. Well done, Wozniak then retakes his lead after losing it into turn 1 at the start of this Grand Prix. And I wonder, can Finbob cling to the back of Dan and maybe get a move done himself? Still settling for third for the time being. As we look a bit further down the grid, there's a move there from SLR Sam on crowding. Up the inside, we'll have the outside line now. They're still going to be side by side through this section of circuit. You can go quite easily side by side around this part of the track, but now you really do need to make a decision. Will you lunge it or will you settle back in behind? And I think Sam's going to take the latter and settle back in behind, crowding for the minute. The BRT driver struggling out there for the time being. He currently holds 10th, the final point scoring position, but it is still early doors and he is all under threat from SLR Sam behind. As they now make their way into the stadium section. The Alpine then of Tomas potentially having a little look up the inside of the FGE driver. Has a little sniff at it. Thinks better of it for the time being. As we then see Stanners there. Now look at that crowding, and Charles going side by side. They're going to probably be going side by side down the entire straight. Who's going to come out on top at the end of it though? That will be the question. We're right on board then with Charles. He's going to have the inside line into the braking zone. Sends it in there. Has the room. There's a little bit of contact. And that sends Charles round. Managed to keep it well out of the wall though, so good news for him that is. He's still in this race, but that's a big mistake there for him. I wonder how the stewards will look at it. Obviously they'll take a look at it after the race, but nonetheless, good move there from Tomas up around the outside of the first part of that. Then he knows that he has the inside line for as it switches back on him, and made the move very nicely on Joris there in Alfa Romeo. And yeah, Tomas, well done. Up to P10, taking good fortunes from the others that didn't have such good luck. That being Charles Sutton. Not a good start here for the NLR drivers. Charles and Jay down in 14th, 17th at the moment. But there is still a long way to go. It is currently only lap 5 in this Grand Prix. But I have just noticed and seen further up the grid here, that's Wozniak. He's managed to pull out nearly a second then on the guys behind. Jones just able to stick within that DRS, so that does mean he'll gain a lot of that time back down this start-finish straight. But Wozniak, well, I saw it did dip over a second for just a moment, so I wonder, has Wozniak got some secret pace that we don't know about and is able to pull out a gap over the guys behind, because that will give him a big advantage deeper into this Grand Prix. And if he can pull out the gap onto the guys behind, it means no one can challenge him. That will be what he is looking to achieve, but it's very much easier said than done. As you can see there, the gap's already closed back up to half a second as the train's settling down a little bit now as we get deeper and deeper into the Grand Prix. We're on lap 6 currently. A lot has happened and changed, but they have what looks to be settled down somewhat. So now we're going to get into the groove of things, and it all now comes down to a little bit more about strategy and when you decide to pit and taking advantage of the fresher tyre and all those sorts of things as well. But for the time being, they are all still within DRS, a lot of them, within the DRS of each other. So we could still see some moves. Don't rule it out. It definitely can't be, as it does help somewhat. And I say somewhat, it helps quite a bit actually when you think about it. Big boost to speed, especially down the long straight that it is here at Mexico. If the guy in front also has that DRS, chances are it's very tricky to overtake. But ABS, Giovanni's going to go for it on the FRC Trade. He had the inside line, gets the move done, and actually didn't give Trade the chance to get a nose alongside him into the next part of those corners there down towards turn 1, 2 and 3. And he'll have the DRS to help pull himself away from Trade as well. So cements the position. So ABS 1 and 4, Giovanni taking full advantage then of that extra DRS speed that you gain. And he now finds himself into P4. Good move from the ABS driver. He'll now go chasing after Finn Bob for BRT. Tomas there, picking up a 3-second time penalty, I'm assuming for track limit violations. It's one of those circuits here at Mexico, it's very easy to do in terms of sort of running the car just a little bit wide or cutting the corner just a tiny bit too much, and you can pick up those warnings and then quite easily picking up those penalties subsequently as time goes on through the Grand Prix. So I'm not surprised we've got a couple already. But it's going to be a long old race if they're picking them up at that rate, and it will be interesting to see how that, sorts things out by the time you get to the end of this Grand Prix. It could even be one on what penalties, who has what. But there's crowding. He's going around the outside of FRT Jacob into turn 1. It looks as though he's got the move done, and that's the BRT driver then up to P8. He's going to go chasing after FRC Stanners in the Red Bull. Little bit of a gap to him, but definitely doable, and he's still within that, crucially, within that DRS window, which is what he will be looking to stick within. Getting a little bit feisty further down the field. That's Joris following SLR Sam. I think he's got a little bit of a gap then to him now. Yes, he does. Almost a second, actually. So Joris just dropping off the back then of Sam, who is sticking nicely to the guys in head. Tomas very close, actually, to FRT Jacob in front. Less than half a second between the two of them. He'll have DRS, but so will Jacob up ahead as they now make their way. Jacob actually running very wide there into the stadium section. And you can see there the crowd waving and cheering everybody on. Oh, I wish it was real, but there it is. Virtual, real, it doesn't matter. It still gives you a nice atmosphere of what you're looking at. But interestingly, Tomas then within 3/10 of FRT Jacob up ahead. Going to be livening up the mood. He's got the DRS. That was the little noise of the beep. So there we go. Move done. And before we've even got to the braking zone, you saw further up ahead, BRT crowding, getting past Stanners. But there's contact between the two of them. What's happened there? Crowding's round. He's dropping like a fly that's just been swatted out of the air. And he's now got it facing in the right direction once again, but that does find himself in P13. There's another move further up. That's SLR Sam getting past FRT Jacob round the outside for the first part. He'll have the inside for the second part. And he does look as though he cements the move. Not quite though. FRT Jacob not giving that up very easily. Almost forcing it there. He takes the move up the inside of the double right-hander and actually does get it successfully done. So well done to Jacob for fighting it back as hard as he did. Might have been a bit cheeky, but the room was there, the door was open, and he walked through it. I think maybe SLR Sam got caught napping a little bit. He thought he had the move done and dusted, but FRT Jacob was having none of it and absolutely sent it on him and gets the move back once again. And he is now crucially still within the DRS from the guys up ahead. So that does mean he'll be able to defend a little bit easier from from SLR Sam, apologies, as we're looking at now. Finn Bob just getting past Dan Jones in that Mercedes. Finn Bob finally getting his way up to P2. As we've now had a switch of the podium positions. Dan dropping it down to third. And ABS Giovanni in hot pursuit. He's going to look to try and take it round the outside then. But Dan, having none of it, slams the door shut in his face. But he is less than a couple of attempts behind the Mercedes driver. He's looking each and every way to make a move and get past him. The ABS driver almost looking desperate at this point to get past him. Maybe he feels he's being held up a little bit as they now fire it through the S's. Ah, brilliant. That's the camera shot we've been looking for all session. Finally got it. It is fantastic to watch, especially when a driver like this is so close to one in front. You can really see the sort of moves and thought process that they are thinking about as to what they want to do and how they want to do it. But yeah, ABS Giovanni very close and tucked right up underneath Dan Jones's Mercedes, as they are less than a few tenths then. Less than 3 tenths, sorry, it is about 3 tenths I should say, but he's going to have DRS now, but so will Jones up ahead. I think Giovanni's going to have this move done quite easily then. He's going to take the inside line, but there goes Jones. He's fighting back just a little bit. Now into the braking zone. Who's going to be later on the brakes? They're about equal. They're going to be side by side. Maybe Giovanni going for the cutback. Has Jones, was he able to sort of fend him off for the moment? Yes, he is. The little light there now flashing on the back of Jones's car. That indicates to me he's a bit low on power. And that could mean he is then vulnerable to Giovanni following him. Little love tap there as they make their way through the end of Sector 1. Start of Sector 3. Love tap once again. He's got to hope that he's not picking up damages, Giovanni, with all of these little taps into the back of the Mercedes. I think he'll get away with them for the time being, but he is going to have to be careful. If you do it a little bit too hard, there goes an end plate and there goes your race as well. Now, gaps formed a little bit there, but Jones actually, he's dropped out of that second window for the time being. Through into the stadium section then. Lovely sweeping right hander before you get to the tricky little finickety bit of the left-right sort of hairpins here before you make your way through the penultimate and final corner then of this circuit. But the gaps then further up, they're opening up. They're a little bit over a second. They're still going to have the slipstream effect though. But now that does mean Dan is going to be vulnerable to Giovanni. He's not got the DRS to help him defend. He has got the light flashing, which means he's down on power. And it was just easy for Giovanni to swoop on by, and he now takes that final podium position for the moment. But we are only on lap 12. We're 1/3 of the way through. We've still got a long way to go in this Grand Prix. We've still got pit stops to do as well. That could shake things up and change everything before we do see that checkered flag waving at the end. That I have noticed Giovanni also got that little light flashing in the back of his Ferrari, so he could become vulnerable to Dan Jones a bit later on. But Thomas looking vulnerable now to SLR Sam. The gap then between these two is less than half a second. And Sam looking to take that 8th position away and go charging further off down the road to see if he can catch, well, not catch Stanners, he's right behind Stanners, but maybe if he can get past and go charging off down the road towards Trade, his teammate. Stanners very much being the rear gunner then to his teammate at this point, and that's Tomas wide. That's Tomas very wide indeed. This is going to be the chance then for Sam. He's going to go try it round the outside then into the stadium. Tomas having none of it, late on the brakes and absolutely chucked it up the inside, but got it stopped just in time. So all is fair in this battle this time around. But Sam, I can imagine he's very disappointed with that. He probably was hoping, you know, with the mistake of Tomas, that would have been a done deal. Lick the stamp and send it, as they say. But now he's going to have a chance down towards T1. DRS in activation for both, but Sam definitely having a lot more speed by the looks of it than Tomas. He's going to try and look the inside, get the cut back then through 2 and 3. Now he'd come to another little straight here. DRS in activation once again. The little red light then flashing on Tomas's car. He's going to go for the inside line here down towards turn 4. Can he then slam the door shut into turn 5? Yes, he has done. And he's done that very well indeed. Brilliant move there for Sam, for FGE in that McLaren. And he'll take P8 now for the time being. But he does have to be wary. There is a queue of cars forming up behind him. But I wonder, was Tomas that cork in the bottle? Or was he just a victim of the DRS train sort of getting away from him somewhat, as Sam does find the gap just under a second for the minute, but it was tantalisingly close, I would say, to losing that DRS zone that you want to sort of be in, that bubble, if you like, that you want to sort of sit in, so that you got the move up ahead. Here we go, riding on board then, Giovanni making the move back on Dan. He did get I did see he got the move done last time round, did Dan Jones, back into P3, but crucially, these guys, they've lost that DRS. He's 2 seconds now behind Finbob, and Finbob's struggling to hang on to Wozniak, who has also gained over a second. So DRS then no longer in activation for these guys, and that does mean then that Giovanni and Jones, they'll be battling with each other for that DRS probably lap after lap after lap. What they don't want to do is invite Gergo into the party and make it a free car battle, because that will slow them down considerably more. As we just saw a trade then in the background coming round that double right-hander. So he's not far off of Gergo for 5th position. 2.5 seconds is the gap at the moment, as we then still ride on board here with Giovanni. And the gap then back to Dan Jones, less than a second. So he will be within that DRS window. Giovanni then, I've just realised, picked up actually a penalty by the looks of it, so that's not what he needed for this evening, because that could, you know, spoil the fun, I guess, that he is probably having at this present moment. He's closed the gap a little bit up to Finbob, who looks as though he's actually dropped back a bit from Wozniak, the leader, but still crucially out of that DRS window is Giovanni to Finbob, so Finbob will be very happy for the moment. But the gap does look to be shrinking a little bit as Dan Jones right up to the gearbox then of the Ferrari. Less than a couple of tenths in it. He's now going to have the second DRS zone for this second little straight down towards the end of Sector 1. But I'm not sure if it's going to be long enough this time by to get a move done. No, it is not. He's just going to have to settle in then for the time being, is Dan. However, Giovanni is catching Finbob ahead, and I think Dan will be looking at that gap and thinking, well, I can just cruise on up to the back of the BRT driver in the Haas, whether I'm in front of Giovanni or not. So he's probably A-OK just sitting behind for the time being. All right, then back on board with SLR Sam, Tomas, FRT Jacob. Nice little battle going on here. It's almost a 5-way battle then for 7th position, as Sam still holding on to 8th for the time being, as he still, in an attempt, tries to get past Stanners for 7th position. The Red Bull driver, though, being able to do enough for the time being. It's a frustration maybe setting in then for Sam, as he has got a lot of pressure built up behind him. Tomas, Jacob, Liam Hardman, he's there as well, all lining up, ready to take these positions away. And these are crucially the sort of last few points positions, so they are going to be crucial points for all of these drivers in their sort of championship fight for their team that they are representing. And I know towards the bottom half of the grid the positions are quite tight in terms of points as well. But there we go, Sam then up the inside down into turn 1, makes the move stick for the time being. He should get the DRS then, I believe, down the second straight, as I think it is a double activation zone. Yeah, there you go, DRS in activation once again, and that does mean then he can cement that position over Stanners, who now finds himself in P8. So good move then for Sam. He's now in P7, and he can hopefully go chasing off up the road after Stanners' teammate FRC Trade, but he has got 9 seconds adrift from the sister Red Bull, and that is a big time to try and make up between the two of them. Charles Sutton then setting the new fastest lap, a 1:17.9. Currently, though, he is at the back of the pack. Full grid here, 20 drivers. I just realised it just clocks onto me. We have got a full grid here tonight. That's marvellous to see and fantastic to see, because it does mean then we'll get a lot more action on the track. And definitely some sort of varying strategies, potentially, depending on what goes on in this Grand Prix. But we're just coming up nearly to halfway mark, as we do. We'll have to start thinking now, really we'll have to start thinking about pit stops and what sort of strategies people are going on to. However, when you've got everyone on the same tyre, you would argue they're all going to go on to the same tyre next time. It's just a matter of what lap they decide to do it. and that could determine whether they find themselves gaining positions or losing positions. But here comes Tomas. He's trying to have a look up the inside then of Stanners. Stanners, though, making a couple of moves there. I wonder if that was sort of legal in any way, shape or form. A little bit of a tap causing Tomas to go wide. He takes the position anyway. I wonder, is that going to be investigated after the race? It's hard to see right now, but it could be something that the stewards will want to look into. The potential moving under the braking from Stanners, but then also Tomas taking the position off track. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But Sutton pulls into the pits and retires the car, and that puts an end to his woeful evening this time by. It's a real shame. The NLR, they do have a lot of talent in their ranks, as we do know from both of these drivers, Kennedy and Sutton. They do have the pace. We've seen it before in previous rounds, so maybe the track just wasn't gelling with them this time around. So unfortunately, Sutton will be the first man to retire from the Grand Prix as it stands. But we still march forward, and the laps still count down. Lap 18 then, we have hit the halfway mark of this Grand Prix now. And we do have the first pit stopper among them, as that is AMS Grego, Alien Motorsports, Aston Martin Gergo. He's the first to pit onto that medium compounder tyre, and we do know it can do the distance, as I believe Joris was also on the medium tyre, so he pitted the lap before, which is 17, but it's pretty much halfway, so you know that you can do it one more lap, albeit maybe a bit more cautious than the others. But either way, you know you can do it, you know it won't be a problem at all. So halfway mark seems like a good point to pit in, as then we ride on board here. Giovanni and all of this, apologies for not covering it, but I didn't realise he's actually found his way up into P2, and he's now going to be pitting in. So he's the first then of the front runners to decide to pit in for new tyres. That does mean he should get the advantage on the outlap with the fresher rubber, and see if he can, you know, pull away by some seconds down the road and out of the battle of Finn Bob and Dan James then for BRT and FRT between the two of them, as Jacob then picks up a 5-second pit stop for speeding into the pit lane. As we now have got quite a few drivers then pitting in this time. Dan, though, still within 3/10 of the BRT man of Finn Bob. Putting on a good show for us this evening so far. But they are now 5 seconds adrift from Vosniak. You just saw him there at the bottom of your screen. He's just drifting off into the distance. And that is not what these guys would be wanting to see. That is the wind drifting away from them lap after lap, 10th after 10th. But there are still other podium spots up for grabs. So it's not done just yet. There's still half a race distance to go. And anything can happen. But we are currently watching Dan Jones really try and take it to Finn Bob. He's all over the gearbox of the Haas. And now, who's going to pit in this time by? Are both going to go for it, or no one going to go for it? We'll wait and see. Round they go. They're both going for it. Well, my eyes now are firmly fixed to Giovanni, who pitted the lap before. He's currently down in 10th, but the guy's ahead of him. And actually, looking at that, Gergo's got the jump on him. Gergo then, AMS Gergo has got the jump. He pitted a lap before Giovanni, and he's managed to get the jump on the Ferrari man. And he now sits technically provisional P2. Where is this going to come out? Where is this going to bring them out in reference to Dan Jones and Finn Bob? There they are at pit exit. And they've been jumped by the two of them. So Gergo has now found himself in provisional P2 of this race after pitting a couple of laps early and taking advantage of the fresher compounded tyre. What a strategical move that is for AMS and the Aston Martin team. Gergo taking full advantage then of the fresher compound, but he is still going to be under threat from the guys behind. Both the lights there flashing. Giovanni, yeah, he's going to make the move. There he goes, up the inside. They're now going to be side by side through this complex of the start of Sector 2. And actually, AMS Gergo forces Giovanni out off of the circuit. And I think he was entitled to do so. So you can't really call it forcing. He was just taking his racing line. And I think he was entitled to do so as well. But crucially, these two, they are over a second ahead of the guys behind of Finn Bob and Dan Jones, sorry. As, oh no, that's not what you want to see, is it? Gergo's unfortunately left the session, and that does mean he's going to drop like a stone in a pond. as the AI takes over for him. Let's hope he can make his way back into it and pick it up from where he's left off. No, it's brought him into the pits. No, that's his race done. Oh, it's such a shame then. He had an absolute masterstroke of genius there, pitting a couple of laps early, taking full advantage of the fresher rubber. And, well, the AI's all undone everything for him. It's pitted him in. He's put him on soft tyres. I don't even know if they'll make it to the end. Oh, it's all gone wrong for him, hasn't it? Oh, bless him. That's devastating to see. It's a real shame to see as well, but we move forward. We've still got a race to cover. There's still a long way to go in this race. He could still fight his way through the pack, I'm sure, but the AI has absolutely scuppered him there. He's down in 16th on the wrong tyre, you would imagine. But nonetheless, we do move forward. And we're still riding on board with Giovanni. He's caught up to the back of the guys that have yet to pit. He's back in. He's going to see where he is, and he won't be happy, will Gergo. That's such a shame as well. He was doing very well. Had a good strategy plan in mind by the looks of it. The one who's not enjoying the strategy for the moment is Giovanni. He's going to try and go round the outside of Stanners. This is very unseen. Not normally a place to overtake, but he has got the fresher rubber. Much more grip than Stanners on that old hard tyre. He still can't pit as now he's got Finbob up his inside. I don't think he wants to pit as of yet, but Stanners is going to have to hold it side by side then with Finbob. He has got the DRS to help him defend. Giovanni got the move done before the straight even occurred, and he's going to be under threat as well. Stanners then tries to go for the move back. They're going to go three wide. Finbob round the outside. There's tiny bits of contact between the three of them, I think, but they are still crucially facing in the right direction. Finbob having to run it a little bit wide. I think he'll be okay with that. And yeah, takes the position. I don't think there's anything wrong with what he did. Giovanni then tries to send it up the inside into the start of Sector 2. He's now going to have the outside line, but crucially Finbob, he does leave just enough room. Nice of him to do so. He could have quite easily ran Giovanni wide off the track because he did have the corner. It was his corner. And well, Finbob then, he's managed to take full advantage of what is somewhat a back marker. Not quite, because he is racing them for position, but his laps are somewhat 19 older than the others, so he is a lot slower, is Stanners. But there we go, Finbob makes the move then. Is Giovanni going to follow him through? He's going to give it a darn good go. I think he has got the move done, and I think Dan Jones managed it as well. And just like that, Stanners has lost 3 positions, but I'm not surprised as he is on much older tyres. But crucially for Wozniak, he's made that pit last time around, and he's still got the gap to these guys behind us. They did get stuck in a little bit of traffic. The gap 4 seconds then between Finbob and Wozniak, so he's managed to close it by a second, but Wozniak now has the fresher tyres of all of these guys, as Finbob trying to hold off Giovanni then for second position at the moment. The red light flashing then on Giovanni's car. He is down on power, you would then argue, as that is flashing. That's what it signifies. So he's going to be struggling for a little bit of extra boost when he needs it, but he is still within a couple of tenths of Finbob up ahead, so he will still have the DRS in activation for the time being. I think they're going to be nose to tail through the next part of that lap. We'll then ride on board then for Crowding. He's all the way back in 8th position. Not that far though when you really think about it, but he is right on the gearbox then of SLR Sam for FGE in 7th position, followed by AMS Kieran. Can Kieran make up for the woes of his teammate, who is, I don't blame him, retired from this Grand Prix after the AI absolutely ruined the race for him? So my thoughts do go to AMS Gergo, as none of that was his fault. You know, unfortunately internet does occur in these things sometimes, but the AI has ultimately ruined that for him. There's penalties galore up and down the field by the looks of it. Joris picking up another 3-second time penalty there. He currently sits in P15 ahead of his teammate Tyler, who's 9 seconds off the back of him. But now Crowding then within less than a tenth it's going to be. DRS in activation as Sam is not within a second of Jacob, so he's going to be vulnerable then, and Crowding gets the move done before they even get to the braking zone. So he will now move up into 7th, and he is just outside of that DRS zone of Jacob for the time being, but maybe he has the pace to get it under, and therefore will pick up the DRS down the next straight. He does have the DRS there in activation, as it is a double detection zone for the start-finish straight and the little back one there. But yeah, BRT crowding, 7th position then. Good move on Sam. Bit of a sitting duck without that DRS, but nonetheless, that is racing at the moment in Formula 1. Hopefully they may be able to remove the DRS and we'll have more what I would call raw racing as opposed to this somewhat artificial, but you know, take it how you like. It's, you know, like making a cup of tea. Do you want it strong? Do you want it weak? Well, you just want it just how you want, don't you? But it doesn't please everybody, unfortunately. So, however you look at the situation, I'm sure everyone has a differing opinion on it. I'm going to ride on board with Giovanni. He's with less than a tenth. He's now going to make the move then on Finn Bob, who doesn't have that DRS crucially. And that gap between Wozniak and second place gaining all the time. He's got the freshest set of tyres, has Wozniak. He's got the gap. So really he should be able to just pull away and run away with it. But he would like to see his teammate of ABS Giovanni finish in second, so they can then say they've had a 1-2 this year like BRT did last time out at the US Grand Prix. But it is still all to play for these final 2 podium positions, as the gap between them is less than a second between second and fourth. So the podium spot's obviously still up for grabs at the moment, but there is a few battles up and down the grid. Dan now maybe going to have a look to get past Finn Bob. It's 2 tenths is the gap into the stadium section. This is not normally where you can get overtaking done. It can happen, but it is very rare. Stanner's then picking up a time penalty as well. He's down currently in 14th, and there's Al Pacino, the guy ahead of him for the McLaren. He just picks up one nicely too. So 3 seconds to those guys there. But down the start of the finish straight. DRS in activation. Lap 26 has begun. And Dan is just going to follow for the time being, as so is Finn Bob on Giovanni, and FRT Jacob then pulling into the pits and retiring. That's the 3rd retirement then for this evening. It's a shame to see them, but I can't blame them one bit really. The race not going how they were hoping or predicted. So for now, yeah, that is 1 Mercedes out, 1 Aston Martin out, and 1 Williams out. That's FRT, AMS and NLR all losing a driver, so their teammates are hopefully going to try and pick up the slack. Effectively pick up the slack, but obviously try and, you know, carry the team a little bit and pick up some good points. But still a long way to go. There's still 10 laps to go. It could all still change at the top. We still could see a safety car. You never know what's going to happen as we go deeper and deeper into the Grand Prix, and as we get towards the end, people start going for more audacious moves as the laps draw nearer and nearer to the checkered flag. As we've got a nice little battle here in the midfield. There's even a battle further down towards the back of the grid, just outside the points then, these guys. But Tomas is not far up the road. I wonder if Kennedy can put some ground in between these guys for 12th and 13th and make some inroads on Tomas, who is currently in P10, the final point scoring position, although he is within the DRS of Liam Hardman for Total Impact Racing in P9. You can see there as they just go through the bottom of your screen. But Al Pacino following Kennedy close enough. He's still got that DRS, but right behind him is Stanners for Red Bull. DRS going to be an activation for both of these guys, so that does very much neutralise the effect of it somewhat. So then it really does come down to who's got a slippier car in a straight line, who's really taken all the downforce off of the car so they can get some moves done this evening. But I think they're pretty well evenly matched for the moment. Right, back on board then for the final podium spots. Giovanni, Finn Bob, Dan Jones still going at it nose to tail, 2nd to 4th, as we now start lap 28th, and Wozniak's now got a commanding lead, nearly 8.5 seconds between him and 2nd place, which brilliantly for him is his teammate. Are we going to see a move into turn 1? Not this time by. They hold station for the moment, and it does look as though Kennedy has come into the pits to retire. Actually, that's brought out a safety car. What's happened there then? Let's jump on down real quick. Can we see any information as to what has happened? That does mean Joris has come into the pits under safety car, the first one to be able to do so. This gives him a huge advantage when you think about it, as all of the others will be under the delta time of the safety car, as Joris sensibly, I think, puts on the medium tyres. Teammate following in closely behind him then for Tyler. He will probably do the exact same. But here we go then, last minute late action safety car. I told you it could be on the cards, never say never. And this will shake up the race, absolutely. This does negate Wozniak's lead that he has. Look at that, 10 seconds he had advantage over the next guy. But it doesn't matter now because it is about to be eliminated, that 10-second gap that he was able to build up. But it does mean he gets a big old chance to pit in, and his teammate can do the same without being hindered by him. As I think sensibly everybody coming into the pits to fit on a brand new set of tyres. Softs then for Wozniak. What's Giovanni going to go for? What's Jones and Finbob going to go for? Softs for Giovanni. Mediums for Dan Jones. What's Finbob gone for? He's gone for the softs as well. Dan Jones then, interestingly, going against the grain of the front runners here, as everyone has come piling into the pits. Can Joris pick up any positions from that where he was able to pit early, I wonder? I don't think he's going to, unfortunately. But he did make the sensible call of coming straight in. It made sense. We have just had Stanners retire then. So FRC now down a driver as well. NLR having no finishers this time around. So 5 cars then out of this Grand Prix. 16 remain. And we are under safety car. I say 16 remain, so 15 remain. What am I talking about? I need to work on my maths, clearly, because it's not up to snuff. Anyway, 15 cars remain as we get into the closing stages of the Grand Prix. Do not tune out of this because it is about to get very heated and hectic in the closing stages. Penalties will become a bigger factor now, the fact that everyone is going to be closed up together, but ultimately they're all going to be fighting for every position they can take, especially these guys up front. They're going to want to take that top spot and take the win away from Wozniak, who at this present moment has deserved it every step of the way, hasn't put a foot wrong and was able to actually pull out 10 seconds over the guys behind. So he's got it all to lose, really, has Wozniak. But 6 laps still remain when the safety car crosses the line, as we wait for the last few stragglers to join on to the back of the queue. So, start of lap 30. SLR Sam also opting for that medium tyre. Does him and Dan know something that we don't, as everyone else has opted for the soft? I do wonder how long the softs will last when we do get back under green conditions once again. Hopefully it will be next time by. I've got a funny feeling it won't be, and will be one more lap under safety car, which would mean then we get going at the end of lap 31, start of lap 32, which would give us a nice 4-lap sprint to the end of the Grand Prix. And probably after that no more safety cars will occur, as I think it then becomes too late for one to be able to be deployed. As Joris picks up another 3-second time penalty. Should we have a look, because these do now come into play, the penalties. Let's have a little look. Joris, 20 seconds? What's he been doing? He's not been following the track. Nonetheless, 20 seconds for Joris, wow. Giovanni, 3-second time penalty for him. That's going to be a big hindrance for his race, especially when we go green again. He's going to need to try and pull out a gap as best he can, as Finn, Bob, Dan, Trade, Sam do not have penalties, and they're all lining up behind him, eagerly wanting to take that second position and even P1 the win. But Crowding 8 seconds for BRT Crowding. AMS Kieran only 3 seconds to his name. It's not the worst thing in the world. Hardman, no seconds added to his final race time. So P9 for the moment, but that could jump up a couple more positions come the end of this race. So watch out for him in that AlphaTauri. He may be on the up and up just yet. He may still get more. And then we do have from 10 to 15 all have penalties picked up. So Tomas with 6, Al Pacino with 6, Tyler with 3, Joris, as I say, 20 seconds to his name, Sornick with 3, and Zach for CPI as well with 8. As we wait actually for Zach to catch up to the back of the grid here. He's a minute down, so he's obviously lapped to the field, but nonetheless, so they may not actually need to wait for him now that I think about it. We'll wait and see as we get towards the end of Sector 2. That's normally when they give the call, will the safety car be in or not, at which point the lead man, which is Wozniak in that Ferrari, will take the reins of the pace of the field. It is safety car then in this lap. Watch it charge off down the road, and Wozniak will begin to back up the rest of the field as he now dictates the pace of this field. So he slowed them right down then. Very short sector this is, Sector 3. So he hasn't got a long way to go until he does need to take the final corner. Most likely flat out, or he may try and catch a couple off guard in this final sector. But he has to wait for the safety car to clear into the pits, which it has done now. So it's up to him when he wants to go. And there he goes! Out towards the penultimate corner then. He is gone. Has he caught anybody napping? Looks as though he might have done just a little bit. His teammate then of Giovanni behind. Already a second is the gap, but he will get the slipstream of the back marker in front of CPI Zach, I believe. I'm not quite sure. I'm pretty sure it is Zach though. So he'll get that slipstream effect, meaning that he can close the gap up to his teammate. Is there any moves further down the grid as we get going? Green once again looks to be fairly clean so far. Not really any positions gained or lost for the time being. We still wait for DRS to come back into activation, and I believe that will begin at the end of lap 33, start of lap 34. So we will still get some DRS laps in before the end of this Grand Prix, and that is probably good news for us in terms of overtakes, as there are all of them at the moment currently within a second of each other, so they should all pick it up. Equally then, that does neutralise everyone's DRS as well. But looking at it, Finn Bob, he's just over a second in of ABS Giovanni, who's been able to catch his teammate quite a number in that second sector. As 1.2 seconds is now the gap. Can Giovanni and Wozniak just pull away then from the rest of this field? That's what they will hope to do. And worst case scenario, Wozniak holds up the field behind while his teammate pulls away, so that maybe they can work together with this. But Giovanni then sets the fastest lap of 1:16.8, and he's right up behind his teammate. Will he go for the move then down towards turn 1? No DRS in activation just yet. Dan Jones gets past Finn Bob then for P3, the final podium position as it stands at the moment, as SLR Sam gets past FRC Trade in the Red Bull. He takes P5 for the moment then as well. I think that's all the positions gained or lost on that occasion this time by. We then go through for lap 33, as Dan Jones then, he's now third position on the road, would currently take second away from Giovanni with that penalty in place, but crucially he's not within that DRS window. So has then Giovanni got enough pace to pull away from the guys behind so that he can cement P2, which I know he would desperately like to get ABS a nice 1 and 2. Patrick saying, come on Kieran. Cheering on the AMS driver there. He currently sits in P8, just behind BRT Crowding, but crucially has a smaller penalty than Crowding, so he should gain that position at the end of the race if it stays as is, and so do the gaps. But Crowding then, he's maybe going to have a look at a move on FRC Trade. He's all over the gearbox of him now, of that Red Bull. Will he pull out of the stream at the last second? DRS not activated just yet because the detection point is before the end of the lap. So it does mean that the first DRS zone in activation will be the very short strip at the end of Sector 2, beginning of Sector 3. But for the time being, well, did Crowding make the move? I think he did actually, yes, he is. He's now in P6 then. Crowding did make the move then on FRC trade. And so he now currently sits in P6. Good move then for the BRT man. He now goes chasing after SLR Sam, but what I want to see is how these medium tyres are going to fare against the soft runners. 5 laps on these tyres is everybody. As Al Pacino then picks up another penalty. Another penalty right there as well. Picks up 2 in a matter of seconds. And another. What's going on there? I wonder. Nonetheless, we'll carry on with the racing, shall we? Giovanni then almost managed to pull out 2 seconds then over Dan. And that is crucial for him. He needs another second then to maintain that position as they make their way onto the penultimate lap. 2 to go then. And Ferrari, ABS Esports Racing, I think it's just ABS Racing Team, but the esports team that they have currently holding 1 and 2, as that is a retirement from Liam Hardman. Is that him retiring in the pits? I didn't quite see what happened there. And so is Al Pacino, but Liam Hardman looked to be on for good points, so that's quite surprising to see him retire. Not too sure what's happened, but nonetheless, that does mean a few of these guys get a few positions. We are still here on board with the Ferraris. They're currently 1 and 2 and separated by less than half a second. I wonder if Wozniak will want to win this on track, or whether he'll let Giovanni go to try and get the gap over Dan Jones behind. The gap 2.4, nearly 2.5 seconds. As I'm going to ride here on board with SLR Sam and Finn Bob. The gap then less than 0.2 of a second. DRS then here for SLR Sam. That red light flashing on Finn Bob's car. Sam takes the move, swoops round the outside, and will happily take P4 then. Brilliant move then for FGE and that McLaren driver. He's found his way up into P4. I'm trying to remember, where did Sam start in this Grand Prix? Because he's actually doing rather well by the looks of it. Let's see how many positions he's gained. 9 positions that man has gained. Wow, that is a good race for Sam then. And it's still not over. Final lap to come. And we'll see where everybody finishes come the end of this Grand Prix. I can't find the tyres. Not that I think it matters at this point. There we go. We all know what they're on. But crucially, Sam then within actually a second then of Dan up in front. Finn Bob still following closely. They've gone down the start-finish straight for the final time. So will this be their finishing positions, or will we see a late lunge from one of these guys into the last closing corners of this Grand Prix? As I'm seeing in the group chat, oh my god, 5 wide. I think I've missed a 5 wide move. I can't believe it. No, here we go. We're on board with it now then. Crowding, Kieran, Trade and Tomas, they're all fighting hammer and tong in the few closing sectors of this circuit. Has Giovanni done enough then to take P2? He hasn't at the moment. 2.3 seconds is the gap. The fireworks are firing off, as I don't think there's going to be many more moves. We'll ride on board then for Wozniak as he takes a wonderful win here at Mexico. It's a 1-2 on the road for Ferrari and ABS, but it's going to be, I think, a 1-3 for them overall. We'll then try jump back to then the final few guys finishing this Grand Prix, as I can't tell you where they're finishing across the line. Penalties come into play. We can get into the final results at the end, but what a fantastic finish to this Grand Prix nonetheless, as that late safety car adding some drama then to the end of the Grand Prix. Tomas bringing it home then, final car across the line as he takes P12. I wonder what happened to him in the closing stages there as well. But there we have it, the Mexican Grand Prix, round 5 of ETE, done and dusted. I'm sure there'll be stewards aplenty looking through incidences and tickets to see who may get a penalty or may not. All of that's still to come though afterwards, of course, but for the time being, Wozniak taking his absolutely deserved win this evening, and that gives ABS a win as well this season. So brilliant drive then, 1 and 3 for those two. And I think they're going to be absolutely chuffed with the results. But a brilliant drive from Dan as well for the Mercedes outfit for FRT. I think he'll be happy with second place in the end of that nonetheless. He took the lead into turn 1 at the beginning of the Grand Prix, but ultimately Wozniak had the pace over everybody this evening. At one point had a big 10-second gap, but still held on to the win nonetheless. So Wozniak takes your win this evening. Dan Jones is second. Giovanni is third. SLR Sam, brilliant fourth position in the end for him, as Finn Bob slips back to fifth. FRC Trade managed to win out in sixth position then for the battle here for the last few point scoring positions. AMS Kieran 7th, BRT Crowding 8th. Tyler out of nowhere manages to finish 9th for Alfa Romeo. Good result then for him. Sornik 10th as well, so he picks up the final point. Joris is 11th, Tomas is 12th, and Zach, the final finisher then, in 13th, as the other guys, although they may be classified, didn't technically finish the Grand Prix. Trying to think of my driver of the day now. That's going to be a tough one, I think, because there was a lot of them who really deserved it. I think it is going to have to go to Wozniak for ABS. He commanded the race from start to finish pretty much. He lost the lead out into turn 1, but won it back and then drove off in style and dominated the rest of the race. So well done to ABS, well done, and congratulations to Wozniak for your win and for my driver of the day. But that is going to wrap up round 5 then of this Euro Titans Championship. And we come to you next week for round 6. I'm just trying to find the calendar to see where we're heading to for the 6th round. It's going to be Bahrain then on the 21st of January, next Friday. Don't forget it. Put it on your calendar. Make sure you mark it in here. Same time as usual, 8 p.m. GMT, as in the UK time. So, Bahrain next time around. We'll see you then. As for this evening, I'm Ashley. I've been your host. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it all, and we'll be back in a week's time once again. Thank you and goodbye.